Hello, so this is reasons people self-injure. Trying to understand someone who self-injures. That act, that acts of self-injury are often bloody and horrifying. That makes it harder for people to be thoughtful about what these acts mean. There is a tendency to panic when you see someone you care about bleeding from self-inflicted wounds or covered with scars. Such pain interferes with thinking and makes it harder for people to understand the motives behind self-injury. Further complicating the matters is the way that self-injury looks like it must be a suicide attempt, even though it usually isn't. An act of self-injury, which might make sense if you understood a suicide attempt, become all the more difficult to comprehend when the self-injurious person denies that they are trying to kill themselves and is telling the truth. So why do people self-injure? What are they trying to accomplish when they harm themselves? This is a list of 6 reasons that seem to cover some of the scenarios, but not all, obviously. So the 6 reasons. 1, to distract themselves, alter the focus of their attention, or regain control over their minds when experiencing pressing, unavoidable, and overwhelming feelings or thoughts. 2, release tension associated with strong emotions or overcoming thoughts. 3, feel something physical when they are otherwise dissociating and numb. 4, express themselves or communicate and or document strong emotions they are feeling and cannot otherwise articulate. 5, punish themselves. 6, experience a temporary but intense feeling of euphoria that occurs in the immediate aftermath of self-harm. So the 6 reasons explain. Let's unpack these 6 reasons of why people self-injure. So 1, to regain control, to shift attention. People sometimes harm themselves because by doing so, they are able to gain a subjective sense of control over chaotic internal emotions and thoughts. Seizing this control involves shifting the focus of their attention away from something more troubling towards something less troubling. Cutting or burning oneself causes physical pain, which is a very compelling and strong sensation. Self-injurers sometimes use the pain sensation to override painful background chatter that fills their mind. 2, to release tension. A variation on the theme of regaining control is the idea that people self-injure as a means of releasing tension. Sometimes an aspect of a person's chaotic internal experience is that feeling that builds up a subjective state of tension or arousal that motivates people to do something to take action to reduce that tension or arousal. Cutting or burning oneself can apparently serve such tension reduction functions. 3, to return from numbness. Traumatized people sometimes cope with their trauma by dissociating. Dissociation is a mental and emotional state where normal experience of consciousness gets chopped up into disconnected parts. So a person who dissociates may not remember something that happened to them that was very painful because through the process of dissociation, they were able to store the painful memory in a section of their mind that the rest of themselves don't know how to find. Feelings can also be dissociated or detached from the events that provoke them, such as occurs in depersonalization disorder. So a person feeling associated with a traumatic memory might be detached from that memory, such that the traumatized person remembers the event as though it happened in a movie, as though it happened to someone else, and they are just watching it unfold. We're all familiar with this idea that the pain to experience pain sensations. What people may not realize is that it is also painful to feel nothing. Dissociated people who feel largely emotionally numb are often in great pain of a sort. Some of these people will self-injure as a way to generate a strong sensation that is capable of bringing them back to feeling something again. 4, to express, communicate, document pain. Sometimes people who self-harm are not skilled at using language to describe their inner experience. This can be because they are not particularly good with words. It can be because they never learned what words to describe emotion. They So 5, to self-punish. Some people who self-injure do so because they seek to punish themselves. Often when this occurs, people who harm themselves with intent to self-punish are also people who have survived substantial abuse. One of the lasting long-term effects of abuse is for some people that the voice of perspective of the abuser gets implanted into the mind of the victims in such a way that the victim starts to judge him or herself in the same way. That's actually why I have self-esteem issues, not from abuse, is more from school stuff. I don't know what you would call it. But all of the girls and boys telling me over and over again that I was worthless, that I was ugly, fat, no good, never going to amount to anything. And these words stuck into my head until I believed them. This can also happen for someone who self-injures. They can feel this way. They can feel like they're not good, they're dumb, they're worthless, they're a failure. And they begin to rationalize what people have done to them. And they rationalize the abuse and feel like they need to be punished for being themselves. And finally, 6, to experience euphoria. The final reason I'm aware that people who self-injure describe has to do with feelings of euphoria, or at least a pleasant feelings that some self-injurious report occur right after they have finished cutting or burning, or otherwise damaging themselves. I think it's like what happens after you have exercised vigorously. You get a runner's high, a temporary feeling of bliss that occurs right after you've worked out. Only in this case, the feeling of bliss happens in the aftermath of damaging yourself. Some self-injurers have described this feeling as having addictive qualities. They remember how good that feeling felt and become motivated to self-injure to recreate that feeling. So that's just some reasons why some people might self-injure. It's different for everyone. These are nowhere near an extensive list. I know it can be overwhelming when a loved one is hurting themselves. You want to do something, you panic. Panicking is not going to help. Just try talking to them. Don't feel bad, because don't yell at them. This may actually just make them want to do it more. Talk. Be like, hey, see, you did this. I'm worried about you. Can we talk about it? Or is there anything you need to talk about today? And don't try to push. Pushing can be overwhelming for some people as well. So, thanks for watching. So, I had a goodbye message in some of my other videos. I ended up accidentally deleting it. I just want to take a moment to say thank you for everyone who's watched. I personally have been making these videos for me, and doing them has kept me accountable, and I've learned so much. So if you like these, please like, subscribe, leave me a comment, tell me what you want me to do, really. I admit the coping skills ones are a little bit more for fun than for information. But I came up with this idea because of the COVID stuff going on in the world, and I realized now is the time to start taking better care of myself. Not enough people do, surprisingly. But with having no classes, no job, no nothing, just sitting around, and that wasn't me. I needed something to do. So I'm still taking classes right now, but I've also for myself, this why I started these videos, taking care of myself in all 8 dimensions of wellness. But yeah, so if you like it, well, thank you. Subscribe, like, the spiel. Thanks for watching.